A little pre-video public service announcement. I don't often do this, but I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to the channel. We are just over 1,000 subs away from our 8,000 sub goal, which comes with a giveaway for my free-to-play account where we're going to spend a little money on that account to break the ice and then give it to one lucky winner. But it is also going to give me a chance to get to the test server, which is a big deal for any content creator in Raid Shadow Legends. It allows me to build more of these champions, more of these videos without having to spend all the resources. And that is the biggest thing that stops me from building more of these champions all the time, is the resources it costs to build them. And if I can do that during the times that the test server's up, it may not stop the resource bleed, but it may slow it down. And it'll allow me to get more content out to you for the I Built Them series and other, we can do more legendary reviews, that sort of thing. So please like, subscribe, share with your friends, see if we can't get me to 8,000 in 2023. Thank you for your support. Thank you for continuing to watch these videos. Now on to this video. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Matt Captain. This is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. Today, I want to talk about a video that I'm blatantly stealing the idea from Ash and Chosen, link in the description down below. And that is the most disappointing champs built in 2022 for this account. And I'm going to put an extra caveat on that. I can't use epics because I have a series. I built them so you don't have to. And I build a lot of epics I don't like, a lot of epics that are disappointing, but I do it for the channel. So we can do a video specifically for that series. Probably will tomorrow or in the coming days as we go through that celebration of 100 videos in that series. But this is going to be legendaries only, and there's going to be 5 obviously. So why don't we just jump right into it and go to the champions. And I'm going to do a couple asterisks. First off, I want to do an honorable mention, and this is going to be one that a lot of you are probably going to get mad at. But the reason why this one doesn't make the list is because it was a free champion, and that's Rhonda. And I feel like I stole her banner just yesterday, but I feel like I had some pretty kick-ass damage with her. And we look, I put the books. And honestly, other than just the kind of cool having Ronda Rousey on your team, it's not that impactful. I put her into my Dragon team and thinking that, or my Fire Knight team, thinking she would speed it up, but she doesn't over Lady Kimmy. And Lady Kimmy puts the decreased speed and has some turn meter control, so she's doing double duty. But because my team was strong, it didn't necessarily need that. That was just kind of like a safety valve. I put Rhonda in place thinking, oh, there's gonna be way more damage. It was slower. So even though the Fire Knights, the shield kept open the whole time, Rhonda didn't do what I wanted to do. And it's not that she's bad. She was attacking all the time. She was jumping in on attacks, but her damage isn't so significant that it takes away from the fact that when she is jumping in on the attack, it slows it down. So again, great champion. Don't get me wrong. This is my account. This is me. This isn't a indictment on the ability of this champion. It's just my account. I didn't find her impactful. I don't use her, and I plus 3'd her, right? Well, because I would do that anyway. Because the Cillian is a trash champion, but I bought a skin for her, and it's too bad. Now, again, maybe I'll find other places for her. I'll try to work her into other comps, but and like I said, again, it's my account. So that's an honorable mention. Now, number 5, also a bit of an asterisk on it because I'm not done trying to find a home for her, but it's Maranix. Oh my gosh, it's Maranix. Now, Maranix's kit looks really cool for the Hydra and for other areas, right? Ignores unkillable, ignores shield buffs, targets under a hex buff, places unkillable buff on the champion for a turn if it kills an enemy. She's got decreased defense and a hex. She's got up to 4 attack on this, and she's got a passive that resets the cooldown if she kills an enemy under a hex debuff and increases this champion's attack by 5% for each enemy under a hex. So there's a lot of cool things about her. There's a lot of things that make it feel like she's really good. Maybe in arena, The reality is you have to land her Hex before this ignores unkillable buffs and shield buffs. Which means you got to run 2 turns, which makes it a little bit more difficult to use in Arena. So we're trying to use her in Hydra with Ruel. Is it Ruel? No. Yeah. You know who I'm talking about, the Dark Elf, the other Hex champion who does increased damage on champions with Hex. I think that together they should do well in Hydra, but it's really hard because they're also very fragile. So then you have to be able to protect them, and it just makes it a very difficult comp. Plus the fact that, like, you take a look at this rotation as an example, you have the champion. You have to have either AoE HP burn or block buffs because of the poison head. So it kind of makes, because this I would use this instead of Ugo, for example. I lose a heal and I lose the block and I gain a Hex, and is that really a good trade-off when you're fighting the Hydra? And so far the answer is no. So asterisk, because I still hope to find a really good comp to use her in, but the reality is I poured the resources in and I'm not using her at all, and I haven't been able to use her. Another asterisk, not because I don't believe this champion is bad, but because and this champion is older. It's older than a year, but I pulled extras of this champion and I plus 2'd this champion, and I put resources into this champion under the hopes that he was useful that way, and that is Samar Gemcursed. I don't even use him for Bommel anymore because he's too inconsistent even on Bommel, and it's really frustrating when you put this level of resources. I plus 2'd him and I fully booked him in the hopes of just at least once every 3 months he'd be useful in Bommel. Reality is he wasn't and isn't. He should be higher on the list. The reason he's lower on the list is because technically Samar I got a couple years ago, but I did put the plus 2 in the books into him in the last Bommel rotation, not the very last one that just finished, but the one before that. So it was technically in 2022 is when I put the resources into this guy, and I regret it. I want those resources back. Give me some kind of scrubbing stone, please. Let me burn him. I don't even use him on Bommel. I use a different champion who's also on the list, and that's number 4 with Bommel. Next is Kyoku, number 3. Now this is a tough one. I think this is account specific, so please don't hate me. I think this is a great champion, but not for me. I do not use her. I built her out. I put it in. Now, that said, I guess it kind of, in a way, she found a use for Bommel 90 just like several weeks ago, finally. So in that respect, maybe she shouldn't be on the list, but the reality is Bommel's once every 3 months, and there are other options out there. So what I built her for was to use her in the arena. That's where she should have been strong. That's where I was really disappointed. Her kit reads really well, but the reality is, and there's 2 things, and I think because the next champion on the list is of a similar ilk, and I think the reality is defense-based champions, what you want to do is you want to build their defense up. But there are so many ways to ignore defense, especially in the arena, when you get to pick and choose the champions you're putting up against when you see Kyoku. I think that just makes that's what the problem lies. So her major thing should be the high defense. You just bring in a strong defense-based champion, and they just, so much defense gets ignored that they really are just a sponge, unless you build them high HP. But if you build them high HP, you have to sacrifice defense, which kind of goes against the grain of what this champion's meant to be. Now, that said, I'm not giving up, because I think her with Ultimate Death Knight might be the key, so that some of those ignored defense champions can't target her specifically, because he'll be in the way. So we're trying different things, but the reality is, so far not so good. Just really haven't had a strong use for her. And I think the other problem here is that's 4 turns. So while this reads really strong, the reality is, if it was a 2-turn, yes. 4-turn, it's too long of a cooldown to really be effectively used in 3v3 or single classic arena. Still a good champion. I'm not denying that if you're depending on your account, this is still a great champion for you. I'm just saying for my account, it was kind of disappointing because I haven't really found a place to slot her in. Number 2 on the list, and these ones are probably a lot more classic. I'm pretty sure they were mentioned. Both of these were mentioned in the Ash and Chosen video. But number 2 is Helior. Great looking champion. Loved the shield. Really wanted him to be good. And really just didn't find his home. And again, there's another defense-based champion where he doesn't hit as hard as Solus, really. So Solus tends to be the better defense champion to be used. And as far as Arena, again, same problem. It's so easy to ignore defense. Now he's got this. Whenever an ally has 2 or more debuffs as attack, this champion will absorb 30%. That sounds good, but it's so situational. And then transfers all debuffs from all allies to a target enemy, then attacks that enemy. That's a nice one. It should be a 3-turn cooldown, but I stopped putting books because I just wasn't finding a home. Attacks all enemies, places a shield on all allies for 2 turns equal to 20%. There's better shields. And here, the other problem is that damage inflicted can be a little bit underwhelming because you have to put HP on this champion for survivability because of all the ignored defense abilities out there. There's another champion that might be good to be revisited by Ultimate Death Knight as a sort of protector, so you can't single target with like a Rhodos. So maybe still good. And again, maybe this champion's good. I think a lot of people think well of him, right? Those are pretty good ratings, but I think for my account, just been a disappointment. And the number 1 disappointment, poor Bannerlords. I'm killing them all, but honestly, Sigmund the High Shield. We put books into him, never used him. Never really got into the flow. Again, here's one. He's got decreased duration of buffs on the attacker. He places a shield buff and a strengthen buff. Seems like really good. Has a 3-turn provoke. It's only a 50%, but it's a 2-hit, so it should be landing. And then the decreased attack, and then removes any shield buffs. Has a 50% removing 1 random buff. 75% when attacking bosses, so that's 100% when booked. Looks really good. Damage based on defense, but a champion that you want to have HP on. And I think that's the biggest problem here. Is this champion's max HP? It's 30% of this champion's max HP, which is a great shield on a 3-turn cooldown. But it's a champion that does damage based on defense. So how do you marriage the two? Is where I have the problem with this champion. This champion should be an HP-based champion, and I think he'd be off the list. Hey, the kit looks good, reads good, and I bet you for a lot of you it is good. And I'm sure the numbers are a little lower than expected. But for me, the reality is on this account, just wasn't able to use them. Just wasn't strong enough. So those are my 5. What is your least loved champion, or what is the legendary champion you put books and resources into and just didn't pan out for you? Let me know in the comments down below, and we'll see how many common champions there are that people just built and then were regretted. So that's all I have for you today. I want to thank you for watching the video, and hey, it's New Year's Eve, so Happy New Year's. I will not see you again unless you watch me stream in a couple of hours, but the video will go up afterwards. So, make sure you have a Happy New Year. Start 2023 right. I'll be New Year's Day. I will be streaming, so maybe I'll see you on Twitch. Thank you. Please be kind, be safe, and we'll see you in the new year.